Thanks for buying a reformer from the Pilates Architects. Today what we've decided to do is to give you a basic rundown of the maintenance of your reformer, and one specific area that people have a tendency to have a lot of questions about is the tuning or alignment of your carriage. This is something that you commonly have to do when your reformer first arrives to your studio, and occasionally throughout the lifespan of the machine. I would say, generally speaking, in a busy studio, you might have to do it once a year, once every 2 years, just depending on the amount of use and sometimes misuse. So the first thing that you want to do, very, very simple, is you want to remove all the straps. You want to remove all the springs. That's going to make everything light and easy to move. I even recommend, just so that you can kind of get around, to set your foot bar all the way down and actually remove the gear bar. So you have lots of wiggle room around your reformer. I think that's really, really important. Now, one thing to be aware of is the carriages are heavy. They're actually designed to be heavy. That gives you that really smooth kind of glide on your carriage. So they are designed to be a little heavy. However, very easy for one person to pick up. A little bit easier maybe with two, so feel free to have one person on this side, one person on the other, 4 hands on contact on the carriage, and then you just lift it out. However, if you're doing it on your own, I'm going to just show you right here and now exactly how you'll lift it out. So you'll reach down, you'll grab the base, and then you'll grab both boards behind the headrest, and you'll lift it straight up and out, just like that. It's actually relatively simple. Really, really easy once it's all the way out. If it's tight in there, it might require a little wiggling to move it up and out of the carriage. And we'll move this over to the table and we'll take a look. Okay, so for alignment purposes, there's 8 total wheels. You have your vertical wheels and you have your horizontal wheels. Now, your vertical wheels, for initial alignment, you don't have to worry about them at all. Basically, you want to make sure that they're clean and that they're spinning, but aside from that, you don't really have to worry about them at all. The horizontal wheels, however, are very different. These are the ones that we really want to focus on when we're dealing with alignment. And what you'll want to do is you'll actually want to loosen off the nuts on the top of this. You don't want to remove them entirely, but you'll want to raise them all the way to the top of the bolt. Now, these are 5/16 nuts. Now, you would think that what you need to remove a 5/16 nut is a 5/16 wrench. That's not actually true. I know that's a little silly, but what you actually want is what's called the number 13 wrench. And if you ever have any issue with that, you can't find a number 13 wrench, an inexpensive adjustable wrench is perfectly fine. Something small, it's a good idea to keep it around your studio. The bottom nut's non-locking, so you can generally lift it up just with your fingers and make sure that the physical wheel is sliding all the way up and down. Now, below the wheel is yet another nut that you're going to want to loosen off, and you'll want to spin all the way up to the top of the wheel. Okay, and then you should be able to push the nut down, and now the wheel will slide in and out. Okay, so once you've got all of your nuts unlocked and all of your wheels are free floating, as you can see here, they're all free floating, you'll just want to keep them loose. If you just want to keep them out of the way for the time being, you can actually slide them all the way to the inside of the carriage itself. And the next movement we're going to do is going to be to place the carriage back into the frame, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so now the carriage is back inside the frame, and that's great. You're halfway there. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take these 4 spacer blocks. These are 1/2 inch wood, okay? Now you can get this anywhere. You can get this at any hardware store in the world. You can also use like a book that's 1/2 inch. Just make sure to measure it well to make sure that it's 1/2 inch. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to set the first one to the front corner and the second one to the back corner. And then you want to draw the carriage back to it, just so that it's perfectly aligned with a 1/2 inch gap. So 1/2 inch spacers on all 4 corners. What this does is it guarantees that the carriage is dead center inside the frame. Okay, so after we've got those in, we're going to go underneath and we're going to adjust those wheels the way we want them to be. Okay, so now that we're underneath, you'll see we still have our horizontal wheels and they're still free floating. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the thickness of 2 business cards and we're going to slide that between the wheel and the frame. Once they're touching the business cards, you'll actually tighten up the wheel from below. And that will lock it in place. Now you could in fact tighten all 3 nuts, but I would recommend waiting until you're done. And then when you lift it out, the wheel will still be in place. But make sure that bottom nut is nice and tightened up. Then you'll remove your cards and you'll go and you'll do all 4 wheels all the way around. Okay, so once all 4 of the wheels have been locked into place while you're over on the frame, you'll then bring your carriage back over just to tighten down the nuts. Now, you have to be very cautious because if you tighten the nuts too tight, the wheels don't turn. You can actually seize them entirely to where they can't turn at all. So you actually want to loosen them to where they basically make 1 turn per flick. So that's actually maybe a little, that's perfect, right about there. That's about exactly how you want it. Once you've got your lower nut in place, you'll then just take your locking nut and you'll spin it down gently until they kiss, really, till they just barely touch. There we go. No, we'll go 1 more turn there. Just till they barely touch. That's about right. Double check it, make sure it's still spinning. Give it a little movement. Make sure it's not going to dislodge at all, and at that point you should be able to reinstall your springs, reinstall your straps, and enjoy your reformer.